Imagine trying to fall asleep on a night so hot that the ground beneath you still feels warm. You lie there sweating, there's no air conditioner, no electric fan, no cold glass of water waiting beside the bed. And the strange part is, this was not an unusual problem. For most of human history, your ancestors had to sleep through heat using whatever the landscape gave them. So what did they actually do? The answer was not simply to suffer through it. Your ancestors had several ways of making a hot night more bearable, and some of them reveal just how much your modern sleep environment has changed. Start with the simplest trick. Get out of the heat. That sounds obvious now, but the timing and location mattered enormously. Before modern buildings, people could choose where to sleep based on temperature, airflow, shade, and the materials around them. A cooler cave could become a natural shelter. A shaded area could protect the body from stored daytime heat. An elevated sleeping place could catch moving air that never reached the ground. And in some environments, simply moving outside after sunset could make a huge difference. Why? Because the environment around you changes after dark. The sun stops adding energy to the ground, surfaces begin losing heat. Air temperatures gradually fall, and if a breeze is moving, sweat can evaporate more efficiently from your skin. That last part is important. Sweating is not really about making you feel wet. It is one of your body's cooling systems. When sweat evaporates, it carries heat away from your skin, but evaporation works poorly in hot, humid air. That means the same temperature can feel completely different depending on moisture and airflow. Your ancestors could not check a weather app, but they could feel the difference. They could notice where the breeze moved. They could notice which side of a shelter stayed cooler. They could notice which surfaces remained warm long after sunset. And over generations, those observations could become part of practical knowledge. There was another advantage ancient humans had that is easy to forget. They were not surrounded by heat-producing technology. Modern life can trap heat in places you barely notice. Buildings absorb sunlight, appliances release heat, cars become ovens. Computers and lights add more, and sealed rooms can prevent that heat from escaping. Your ancestors had fewer artificial sources of heat competing with the night. Their sleeping environment was often much more connected to the outdoor temperature. But that did not mean every ancient human slept comfortably. Far from it. Heat can make sleep difficult because your body has to lower its core temperature before and during sleep. Research on human sleep physiology has shown that changes in body temperature are closely connected to the timing and quality of sleep. Your body naturally prepares for sleep by allowing heat to move away from its core. Your hands and feet can become warmer as heat is released. That sounds strange. You might think your body should cool everything equally. Instead, it carefully redistributes heat. The goal is to make it easier for your internal temperature to fall. Now imagine trying to do that while the environment is still extremely hot. Your body is attempting to lose heat. The air around you is refusing to take much of it away. That creates a biological problem, and your ancestors had to solve it without thermostats. One solution was timing. Human activity has always been shaped by temperature. In very hot environments, the coolest parts of the day become valuable morning, evening. Night, the hottest hours can become a terrible time for physical work. That means sleep itself could become part of a broader daily rhythm shaped by heat. Instead of forcing every activity into the schedule you follow today, people could adjust when they moved, hunted, gathered, traveled, rested, and slept. The exact pattern varied enormously. There was never one universal ancient sleep schedule. A person living in a dry desert environment faced a different problem from someone living in a humid tropical forest. A person sleeping in a rock shelter faced different conditions from someone sleeping in an open-air camp. Environment mattered, culture mattered, available materials mattered, and season mattered. That is one reason the idea of ancient humans can be misleading. There was no single ancient lifestyle. Human beings spread across wildly different climates. They adapted their shelters and routines to local conditions. And sometimes the most important cooling technology was simply architecture. Think about a shelter designed around airflow. You do not need electricity to understand ventilation. An opening on one side lets air enter. Another opening can let warmer air escape. A roof can provide shade during the day. Thick walls can slow the transfer of heat. A structure can be positioned to take advantage of prevailing winds. These principles are ancient, modern buildings did not invent the idea of staying cool. In many hot regions, traditional architecture developed sophisticated ways of controlling heat without mechanical cooling. But there is an even simpler possibility. Sleep somewhere else. Your ancestors were mobile. For much of human history, people were not permanently attached to one bedroom with one mattress in one climate-controlled building. If a location became uncomfortable, dangerous, or unproductive, movement was often part of life. That does not mean people casually moved every night. It means the concept of a fixed indoor sleeping environment was far less universal than it is today. And there was another thing that could happen on extremely hot nights. You might not sleep continuously. Modern people often imagine sleep as a single uninterrupted block. But human sleep patterns have varied across cultures and historical periods. Sleep can be influenced by light, temperature, social routines, safety, noise, and daily activity. When the environment becomes uncomfortable, waking during the night becomes more likely. You might wake, change position, move to a cooler surface, drink water, adjust clothing or bedding, find a different spot. Then try again. That sounds frustrating, but biologically, waking up briefly is not automatically abnormal. Your sleep is not a perfectly sealed switch. It is a changing state that responds to the environment, and heat is one of the strongest environmental pressures on that system. This creates a strange contrast with your bedroom today. You can set the temperature before you sleep, you can close the curtains, turn on a fan, change the bedding, adjust the thermostat. Your ancestors had to negotiate directly with the environment. The wind was the fan, shade was the air conditioner. A cool surface was the mattress upgrade. And water was not simply something you grabbed from a refrigerator. It had to be found, carried, stored, and protected. That makes hydration especially important. Heat increases fluid loss through sweating. Without enough water, the body's ability to regulate temperature becomes increasingly difficult. But drinking water was not always easy. Its availability depended entirely on geography, season, rainfall, and local knowledge. Knowing where water was could literally determine where people could live. This is one reason human adaptation to heat was never just about the human body. It was about behavior. It was about technology. It was about social knowledge. And it was about choosing environments intelligently. Your body came with one set of tools, your culture supplied another, and the landscape supplied the rest. But there's a deeper question hiding underneath all of this. If heat makes sleep harder, why did humans spread into some of the hottest places on Earth at all? Because heat was only one part of the equation. Hot environments also contained water, food, animals, plants, and routes between different regions. Humans are remarkably flexible. Instead of waiting for the environment to become comfortable, you can change your behavior. You can change your shelter. You can change your clothing. You can change when you work. You can change where you sleep, and eventually you can change the environment itself. That flexibility became one of the defining features of human survival. Researchers studying human thermoregulation have repeatedly found that acclimatization matters. The body can adjust to repeated heat exposure. Sweating responses can change. Circulation can adapt. The experience of heat can become less overwhelming. That does not make extreme heat harmless. It means the human body is more flexible than it first appears. And your ancestors lived with that flexibility every day. They learned their climate through direct experience. They knew which places were exposed, which places trapped heat, which materials stayed cool, which times of day were dangerous, which nights brought relief. That knowledge did not need to be written down to be valuable. It could be passed from one generation to the next simply by watching. A child sees where adults sleep. A child learns where the breeze enters. A child learns when the group moves. A child learns that the hottest part of the day is not the time to waste energy. Over thousands of generations, countless small observations became part of human adaptation. And there is one final twist. Your ancestors may actually have been better prepared for some forms of environmental discomfort than you are. Not because their bodies were fundamentally tougher, but because their expectations were different. You live in an environment where comfort can be adjusted almost instantly. Too hot. Lower the thermostat. Too cold. Raise it. Too dark. Turn on a light. Too loud. Put on headphones. The ancient version of this problem had no button. You had to respond with your body, your behavior, your shelter, and your surroundings. That difference matters, because your brain learns what to expect from the environment. When modern comfort becomes normal, even small deviations can feel surprisingly intense. A warm bedroom can feel unbearable, precisely because you are used to controlling the temperature. Your ancestors did not have that comparison. A hot night was simply a hot night. They still struggled, they still sweated, they still woke up. But they had developed ways to work with the conditions around them. So the next time you lie awake because your bedroom feels too warm, imagine the problem from another perspective. There is no thermostat beside you. No electric fan, no air conditioner, only the night outside. You move toward the breeze. You find the coolest surface, you drink what water you have. You wait for the temperature to fall. And eventually, your body begins doing what it has been doing for hundreds of thousands of years. It starts preparing for sleep. The strange thing is, the problem has not really changed. Only the tools have your ancestors once had to find a way to sleep in the heat. Tonight you can press a button, and that tiny difference says something enormous about how far human life has moved from the environment that shaped your body in the first place.